Okay, is this recording? Okay, hi, Divine Collective. I'm doing a short video. I wasn't going to do a video for a bit till I was ready, but somebody on the Galactic Astrology site was asking about blueprinters. And I'm not here to discuss them, but there is a group that people are mistaking for blueprinters. So it would be to be careful because obviously we're all just learning this stuff. I just kind of figured a difference I found though in some people and just wanted to share. It's not obviously everybody gets what they need when they need it. So I think warnings and too much preparation for things is kind of silly because if you're at a certain place, you draw certain people, they learn. Of course, we all want to be perfect and learn what we can and do our best. However, I think at any given time, we're given the people that are vibrating at that frequency and we'll give them exactly what they need at that time. So waiting for perfection is never, you know, a good thing. So I'm going to practice some of the Aries energy here and I got more earth in my chart, but I need to not wait for things and just put it out there. And if it sticks, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you resonate, awesome. And if you don't, please share in the comments what your experiences are. However, there's a group that does come across, you can see Pixis over here. That's the beautiful phoenix butterfly kind of pixie fairy nebula inside of Pixis. It's NGC 2818. I'm not going to really discuss a lot about them right now because that's one I'm kind of have to get a little more information about, except for they are, Ursula asked, and they are kind of like a elemental fairy pixie energy. However, they are very high dimensional souls. I haven't doused or anything on that yet, but it's not really important to me right now. They were born in the nebula, and if they take form, they can go to the different planets in the Pyxis star system, which is the compass in the Argo ship. And I'll try to make this a little quick video so it doesn't drone on and on. However, they are beautiful in their energetic form. They are mostly just light beings. When they did come to me in my meditation and showed themselves in the physical, which they said they don't do very often, they're not totally related to the pixies and fairies we have on Earth, yet they have been here in Lemurian times, and there are some that did stick around and may be somewhat related. I mean, we're all related, so it doesn't really matter. Those details are kind of silly. So are names and definitions. However, if you wanted to describe them, they do come across with that fairy pixie energy. They are somewhat playful and have a good sense of humor, but they're also very into protecting nature. Even though they are very energetic beings, they can see and feel nature on the third dimensional and different dimensions. Like I said, they prefer to stay in an energetic level, but when they did present themselves physically, they were somewhat thin, kind of muscle looking. And again, this is not their physical being, this is what they like to project themselves as. So, and they have like a cobalt skin to indigo, kind of different shades of blue and purple. And they had kind of black, like almost like triangle tipped around the edges. It's hard. I'm not sure how to explain it. I wish I was an artist that could actually do it. Maybe if there's somebody out there that does art, they could kind of play with it and we could work together to get a picture of they don't even have a name. They didn't give me a name. So we can just call them Pixians, but they definitely do have that energy. It's just I don't want to associate them directly with the elementals who are not always vibrating. These beings vibrate on a very high frequency and mostly live within the nebula and sometimes go to the planets around Pixis, like I said. And did not give me a name. Their energy just was shown to me, and they kind of telepathically spoke to me that about these other beings that are people call them creator founder, but to me, the founder of the races here is very different than this energy. So I'm speaking about now is the beings that travel from universe to universe. So I call them architects as just lack of a better name. They are ancient souls, and usually in their galactic chart, you will see mostly Shapley conjunct somewhere has to, I mean, any being could not have things show if they're on a mission that they don't want, if they're doing something covert and don't want dark energies to try to invade. But these beings are such a high frequency that the only way that darkness could get to them is when they forget who they are by incarnating in the three-dimensional bodies that we have here. Um, but usually when they find their power, it's beings from lower energies just stay away. And that's like all of us. Once we all become empowered and remember who we are, whether it's an Arcturian, Andromedan soul, or whatever. And like the biggest thing I want to say, and that I know Julia always enforces in the classes, and I would reiterate this now, it doesn't matter how high of a dimensional level beings come from. We are all from the same source, and I guarantee these beings from a higher dimension look down with respect for those that are incarnating into the three dimensions right now, because it's a very difficult road to take. Even if you are from a very high energy, every being that incarnates forgets. That's part of the journey, and that's why a lot of higher dimensional beings decide to stay where they're at and help from where they are. They didn't want to, not, they're not afraid. They just didn't want to incarnate and forget. They wanted to be here to support, and some jumped right in and said, "Hey, I don't care. I'm going to remember," and blah blah blah. Like I believe was said about beings from Orion Nebula. That was not my research, but Julia's and some other people that felt the energy from people coming from through the nebula were like newborn angelic souls that did have a difficult time because they couldn't remember and they didn't understand why they felt so depressed and things like that. Well, these beings probably can go through some of that too, but from what I understand, most of them know because they created every universe they go into, they create the galaxies, they create the filaments between everything, they create the highways, byways, black holes. And to me, black holes are transportation. For beings that are not on a certain frequency, the black holes may not be somewhere they can go through because it might disperse their energy, which doesn't mean death. It just means that it's better if they wait till they get to a certain frequency. But these beings are very close to source, and they go from universe to universe, and some might stick around in the universe they create at times to watch if they have particular interests, because this universe in particular has a lot of entities interested in it because of the polarities. There are polarities in other universes. Some of them don't have very big polarity. So I believe some of these traveling architects get bored and they love to create, yet some have stayed here to watch their creation grow because this is, well, just like when you're growing with your creative arts or whatever, painting, music, when you find something that really draws you in, you just kind of stick with it for a while and want to be a part of it and absorb it and be in with your creation. That's kind of the same thing. But again, it doesn't make these souls any better or any less than anyone else. In fact, I think that some of the newer born souls and the ones that really, it's kind of like this is not a negative thing, but if you have children, you can watch through your children's eyes and you want better for them, even though you created them, and you want better for them, and you also can relive your youth and innocence through them. So it's all a cycle, it's all a circle. So it's just a good thing to remind people that when you're empowering them, not to make them feel like they are special, but we all are. It's not to take away from anyone's individual journey. It's just not to make them feel like special, like above anyway. So these architects do not have a collective. They are sometimes commissioned by Source, or they just work with Source and they know where to go and when, and almost like the angelic realms, like the archangels. However, they traverse different universes. So the blueprinters, from my understanding, when I was learning about these beings, that the beings from Pixis were kind of giving me some of this information. is that they can even travel through the filament that they create. And it's a lot faster that way than going through wormholes and stuff like that, because you can just go anywhere at any time. But the collectives that we have for the what my feeling was is that the blueprinters work as collectives, whereas these architects will come together as a collaborative group to create universes. And then they split off, or some will stay. And not that they have a loving connection and they connect with everything. Any beings from any dimension, any incarnation, they can connect with any plant life, anything, because they've helped create it. But they are connected to it, not like creation on Earth where we create something and is not us and we feel outside of it. So it's not the same thing. But the blueprinters, from what I understand, are doing more things in a universe or solar or galactic system. They're not working from between different universes. So it's just a different level. And a lot of the blueprinters are tasked and they work together. And maybe other people have the right words. It's when you get this information, I know a lot of you feel that way. When it's intuitive information in your sleep or in meditation, there are just not words for it sometimes. So if anyone can find the words, please comment. Or I'm sure other people have had these experiences, but they just haven't really spoken about it. However, another thing is when these beings do decide that they love the creation that they have and really want to experience or want to get in there and help and on a physical level, a lot of them will have the super points in their chart, especially what I was getting back to is Shapley Attractor and the Great Attractor and Super Galactic Center. Galactic Center, not as much. Yes, it can be in there, but a conjunction just to that, I don't feel would describe these beings. And most of them will have all four royal stars in any configuration, trine, sextile, or square, if they're in the chart. But it's not limited because these beings usually don't mind showing themselves. But like if there aren't things showing, it's either because they chose to be born where they couldn't be discovered, or most of these beings I don't think really care that much because they are very high energy and probably don't always understand if they get here that they have to be careful with dark forces trying to, especially if they know who they are. But they do go into Alpha Centauri and Arcturus. I'm looking at notes because this is a lot to remember. And they're trained. Alpha Centauri, they can step down because there is very high level beings that also they're physical beings, so they can kind of help them get from those energies and understand the polarities of this universe, especially the three-dimensional. And I mean, there are other places they can go. Zeta Reticuli has some training. They're not all the grays that are negative. Zeta Reticuli also has very high level beings as well, just like Thuban. Um, and they usually only choose to come when there's a powerful into physical incarnation, when there is a powerful time of transformation. And that would be now. And Arcturus, Andromeda are also places they go to train to learn how to use creating universes, solar systems, galaxies, wormholes is very different energy than working with third dimensional energies to transmute those. So they do have to go to some places where they specialize in that and can learn. I'm sure some go to the Pleiades, although I wasn't really shown a lot of that. I do know there probably is Pleiadian as well because they can teach the healing to beings that don't may have created these duality universes or energies, but they don't necessarily work on them at such a micro level. And anyway, so these are beautiful beings, but they are not what I would consider the blueprinter energy. They do it, but on a different scale. So that was my thought for the day. And hopefully, other people will be able to expound on these ideas. I think it's great that we all work as a group and keep giving more information as we go. So if you get those people and spot them, they look a lot like blueprinters, but they aren't. So It doesn't make them better or less, like I said. Just the blueprinters feel to me like they work within galaxies or in this universe, whereas these traveling architects go through many different universes and create and then move on or stick around if it's exciting and they want to watch. Okay, well, enjoy. Thank you. And let's look forward to Pluto and the big shifts coming on the 17th. I think for many people, because some of it's in very earth signs, that it's not a grand trine. However, I did notice the major planets are very close to a grand trine, but they're not directly at the whole 120-degree angle, so they aren't. However, they're close enough that I feel that it's Uranus and Pluto and oh my gosh, I don't have my chart in front of me, but you know the main planets, and I know my sun is also going to be right in there too. But I think it's going to be very physical stuff changing, not just the mental and emotional and spiritual. It's going to be spiritual shifts on a physical level. So be ready, very exciting changes, and I think there might be some really big shifts as far as energetically and some major physical DNA activation coming up. And if it's not right on the 17th for everyone, some people might get it sooner, some later, but I think the next couple of months there's going to be a lot of physical changes. We've been moving in that direction, but I think something big's going to shift pretty quick soon. All right. Take care, everybody. Love you. Blessings, Divine Collective, and have a great rest of this month. One beautiful thing I just had was been taking mild blood pressure medication for a few years, and even with all the meditation and dietary shifts, I am not perfect either, and I have gotten angry at my guides and said, I'm doing everything. What the hell do you want from me? You're not letting me get off my medication, and medications are bad. But so would, you know, dying of a stroke. So I'm still taking them. However, my mom brought home a flyer that was for an integrative UCI at Irvine. They're doing a study for acupuncture and helping blood pressure, and I qualified. I had to wear a monitor all yesterday, and it was very annoying. Big hose that I had to walk around with all day and night, sleep with it. But it turned out I just barely made the minimum to be in the study. So I get free 8 sessions, 8 weeks of treatment, and then they'll give $100 plus 3 extra treatments for free after, and they charge like I think insurance like $250 for it. So blessings come all the time, and I always apologize if I get mad at my guides, but I have to agree with Louise Platt when she was not totally having the same things that happening because a lot of my shifts happened of letting go earlier this year. Before each shift, my body seems to shift a couple months before the huge planetary shifts. So I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that. It might be the Shapley and Super Galactic Center and Great Attractor in my chart, but it seems to me that my shifts happened months before the actual, and I can enjoy the ride when it comes to the planets aligning a certain way to shift a lot of the other parts of the collective. But it's nice to be able to ride out those energies smoothly. Yet recently, I have had a few weird things where out of nowhere I just got angry. Not even angry, I just had frustration where I just wanted to throw something. And I don't even know where it came from. And I just stopped and breathed. And, it usually goes away pretty quick, but it happens once in a while. So we all go through it. There's no shame in it. I think I was talking to somebody the other day about shame, and shame is what keeps you in stuff. So it's good to just recognize and love yourself and say, wow, that was interesting to observe. And now let's just move into a different direction, not smack yourself around. Gosh, I can't believe I'm still thinking this stuff. It comes up. I mean, if we're not shifting, we're not growing, we're pretty much dying just like a tree. A tree that's not growing is dying. So uh, it's a little difficult for me because in my chart there is some perfectionist tendencies. I've worked with them a lot though, and now I'm not expecting perfection for myself, which makes it easier to move through the shifts and just let things go quicker and quicker. All right, beautiful ones. Just remember, we are all manifesting, like Josh posted today, and creating. So I'm not going to say be careful what you create. However, if you do have something negative come up, just look at it and say, wow, that was interesting, and let it go. Because if you hold on too long, you'll start creating that. And I'd rather be mindful of my creations and conscious and making good choices what I create than to allow myself to go down a dark path of being angry or irritated at something I can't control anyway. So riding on the freeway will bring that out of a lot of us, but just let it come out and let it go and say, wow, where did that come from? Or did I need to be irritated? Okay, well, I was. And so let's just move on. It's not who I am, it's just what came up. All right, you are not your emotions. You are experiencing emotions, and you can control them and let them go. Love you all. Take care. Bye.